Hey, so we're here today after the biggest meet in powerlifting history, Sheffield, to recap the meet and go over some of the things that really impressed us, some of the things that surprised us, and just talk about the meet in general and all the storylines and everything that people will be discussing in the powerlifting community for going forward. So we're just going to start. We're going to start by talking about the woman who, again, like last year, just absolutely killed it, shattering world records in almost every weight class and on tons of single lifts. There were battles. This was everything you'd want to see in a powerlifting meet. So let's start with talking about some of the things that impressed us most. So Adriana, tell me, give me a lifter or a lift, something that like impressed you that you did not see coming here.
I think we saw this coming somewhat, but we still got to start off with it with Agatha. What on earth? Like, we all had her to win, obviously, and she said she was going to do 600, but then to actually go out there and execute and prove the haters wrong, or maybe not the haters, but the doubters who thought, oh, she's inconsistent, she'll miss a few lifts, she's not going to end up on top, and then she goes out and just like shuts everyone up is insane.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would say this has to be. I don't know. Has to definitely on the women's side. This would be the number one storyline from the Sheffield, and it's not just Agatha. It would be unfair to mention Agatha without mentioning just that whole battle of the 69s. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we were all in agreement here that Agatha, we thought Agatha was going to win, and we were all in agreement that all the 69s would be in the running at the top. But I would have to say, like, like Agatha impressed me a ton by like being able to go 9 for 9, cutting down a weight class, hitting that total she's been gunning for, 669, which is insane. But it's not just her. Um, Corolla and Leah, like I expect them to do really well, but both of them like perform beyond my expectations.
I
This
completely
class,
agree.
what?
I just said I agree. Like, I mean, I had Leah. We kind of all like Leah outblew our expectations because we had her at fourth, potentially missing her last deadlift. But I mean, she was able to pull like I think a 5 kilo meet PR or something like that,
Yeah,
and she hit like 237 and a half, and her total was 585, which is 36 kilos over the previous world record, which is just mind blowing. Like Agatha is like in another world, but if you were to take Agatha out, like the conversation would be Leah and Corolla.
right. So what I would say what makes this so insane is that a combination of things. Number one is that you would say after watching this meet, if you didn't know enough background, that we had one of the best battles and this is the best weight class like in the sport. But then when you think about it, Agata's probably going 84 for worlds. At least one of I'm assuming Corolla probably goes 63 and maybe Leah also. So we might not see this battle at all. We might be back to the 69s being a interesting weight class that's like more of just a normal weight class. But what I was saying though, in terms of impressive, is that like Agata, we had all seen her training, right? We had seen she had posted up these crazy lifts, and the main conversation was two things. Number one is how's the cut going to affect her? So I didn't think that would be a big deal just because she had been sitting near weight for a while, which at that point it's just like a regular water cut for any lifter. And number two is she going to execute? Like she's hit these lifts in the gym, but like is she going to be able to transfer that? And obviously she did everything that anybody could have asked for and more. But then Leah, like we knew she was hiding lifts and we knew she was going to do something big. But 225 squat, 496 pounds or whatever, like that, I didn't think we were going to see that big. And then Kroll also, I mean, like Corolla benched, what was it, 150, 150, yeah. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she is one of the best benchers in the world. And if not for Agatha, she would be the best bencher in the world. But, like that, like impressed me a ton. Just everything impressed me. Like, the one thing that was weird is we actually kind of discussed this on the preview, which is that the reason um I put Corolla ahead of Leah was because I thought Corolla's going to deadlift much earlier. She's just going to pick a number that she could hit and move her into whatever spot, and then everyone's going to go after her and like battle for positioning. Battle like certain people will take world records, certain people will make jumps for positioning, and she's just going to hit what she needs to. It actually turned out the exact opposite way. She took that big jump, which was too much. and then Leah didn't have to like worry about positioning. She just took 2.5 kilos to secure the spot. It was kind of basically out of reach at that point. So
Mhm.
it didn't turn out exactly how I expected, but even so, way above my expectations. Ish, what are your thoughts on seeing the 69s in person and seeing the craziness?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to apologize for my voice because yeah, I was screaming my head off all day yesterday, singing in person. But yeah, definitely the 69s, all three of them over delivered in terms of like what we expected from them. Like Agatha was talking about a 600 total, but I honestly didn't expect it. I thought she'd win with like 590 probably. But then even like Leah and Corolla went above 580 as well. And I think I just saw recently, I think the top three females of all time are now all those 69s with all 600 plus dots, which is crazy. That's how insane they performed. And yeah, the squats, I did not think Leo would squat 225. I think we all had her top end 220. And then she
Mhm.
just did 225 and looked like she had a bit more in her as well. Yeah, it was just crazy seeing that in person.
Yeah, I mean, we all agree. Everyone's gonna discuss class. Everyone's gonna say it's crazy, and I would say, I mean, we were pretty right in just in general. Like we all thought Agatha was gonna win. We thought she was gonna do something crazy. We thought Leah and Kroll are also gonna put up pretty crazy numbers. The only thing I would say that I was a little bit off on is, I mean, she did end up winning comfortably by like 15 kilos, but I thought that if Agatha performs, which I expected her to, and she did, I thought it wasn't going to be close, and like it was like it was decently close. Like it would have taken something crazy from Leah and Agatha to miss her with her deadlift, but like it was still in the running coming into thirds.
Mhm.
Like play out a little
Mm.
differently, it could have been a pull for the win attempt.
Yeah, like Agatha's third spot was like right on the line. Like
Mhm.
if she missed that, then yeah, it would have definitely been in a pull for the
Yeah.
win situation because that was 7.5 kilos there if she missed that. But yeah, it was pretty closer than I thought it would be.
Right. Okay. So let's see. So that was obviously, I would say, the number one storyline. Anybody else have a specific thing they want to discuss next?
Um, One thing I saw I think was even though Tiffany she finished down in 10th in the I think we discussed this in the podcast as well. I think she won like the at the fourth most amount of money out of everyone. She ended up winning like £16,000, like more than nearly everyone in front of her except for was it Agatha and one of the others, I think Leah. I think.
So I
Yeah, I
haven't
mean,
seen the.
Tiffany, I think she like I saw those openers and they were coming in and her deadlift opener was 160 kilos. And I was like, well, and honestly, I think I might have said this on the preview. Like, I wouldn't be completely surprised if she was just hiding her deadlifts and not posting her sumo. And I'm not saying like she didn't have an injury. Like, I don't really know if she had mentioned that on her page. She could have been dealing with something, but it either turned around or she just wasn't posting her sumo lifts at all because they went like her lifts went super well, like especially that deadlift, and she was able to break the world record. So yeah, I would say that was a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take some credit here. Like, I predicted her squat exactly. I predicted her bench exactly, and I was off by 2.5 kilos on her deadlift. So I pretty much like expected her to be exactly where she was. So I mean, she did what she does, right? Like she's insane squatter, she's insane bencher. Her deadlift's good. It's just like maybe not up to the top of the 47s, and
Mhm.
she's gonna have to improve on that as the 47s around the world get stronger. But I mean, she took her squat world record, she took her bench world record, she made a nice chunk of cash, and like she did around where we all. I don't know the exact numbers you guys had, but like it was right around my numbers, and I think like it probably would have been around your numbers if not for the fact that maybe you thought she was dealing with some injury because of the posting. But I mean, I don't really like the whole idea if she was just hiding stuff because it really doesn't do anything. It comes down to it where like every coach that's coaching here I hope every coach, but definitely all the good ones, they have like legit game plans. They have everyone's numbers. They have like their tendencies. And the second openers come in, they have a general idea of like where people stand. So you're really
Right.
not doing much. Like you're really the only what I always say is the only thing to ever hide really is deadlifts, because you could put your openers in and a fake deadlift opener and maybe it changes how people act on squat and bench. But other than that, there's really no point. So yeah, either way, that was just my idea on Tiffany. I guess one thing that I definitely want to discuss, another battle, is the 84 pluses, right? So
Mhm.
we had the best 84 plus battle ever at Worlds, and then we got to see the top two come battle it out again. And I mean, they didn't disappoint. Like, I have to say right now that Brittany Schlater is becoming one of my favorite lifters in the IPF. Like, she just executes. She doesn't go crazy in training. You're never going to catch her hitting an RP10 or even an RP9 lift in training. And not just because she doesn't post. It's just because she doesn't take them. And she just is a insanely strong lifter who is just putting kilos on her total, like meet after meet. Like she won the world championships where people were missing, so not everyone gave her full credit. And then everyone counted her out in 2023. She comes back against potentially the GOAT in Bonica and the hyped 84 plus in Sonita, beats both of them. Then comes Sheffield, and although people were giving her more of a chance in this battle after what we'd seen, still the hype was more on Sonita. She had hit like the most insane squat ever in training. And then she comes and just executes. The one thing I would point out that was a little bit strange is that her third deadlift, she loaded 267 and a half instead of 268 and a half. That was like, I mean, I don't know who was handling her, but like seems like a little bit of a mistake. Like 1 kilo when you're at that, I mean, 1 kilo on any lift for any person, like usually is not the make or break, but 1 kilo on deadlifts when we're talking at those kind of numbers seems like you probably should have put the 268 and a half. But listen, who am I to judge? She hit 710 kilos, extended her own world record, and she's, I mean, coming in now, like there's no more like underrating her, or no more like under, she's still going to fly under the radar just because she's not going to post as much, but like she is the favorite until somebody passes her. That's what I
Mhm.
would say. What are your
Yeah.
guys' thoughts on that battle?
I mean, I guess we'll just have to see like what happens in Lithuania when we see her versus um potentially Alexis Jones. Because yeah, Alexis is like 10 kilos up on her total right
So
now.
let me just interrupt you for a second.
Yeah,
I think that'll be great and all that, but like let's not go there now, right? The whole point is
right.
we want to give the actual credit Brittany deserves. Like not like yeah, she's gonna have to face another tough opponent and another opponent that on paper is potentially stronger, right? Like she has the big, like Alexis has the biggest total, and I love Alexis. I think she's the strongest out there, but like let's see the battle. So for now, let's at least like stick with like what we did see. Let's discuss like the actual battle like yesterday between Sonita and Brittany and discuss that before we move on to who they're going to face later.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. Like Brittany, like currently is the one who has proven herself on the biggest stage as one of the best super heavyweights. Like to total like 710 kilos to add nearly 20 kilos to what you did in Malta in like a super tight battle is just insane. And her last deadlift, yeah, I agree. Like looking at the last deadlift, it was so fast. Like she smoked it. And it was like, whoa, like that's nearly 600 pounds right there. Like she's right near the world record. So in hindsight, yeah, she could have had the extra 1 kilo for the 5,000 pounds. But like, if you're looking at the numbers, she did put on like exactly what she needed to beat Sonita, because Sonita, um, if we're looking at like the timeline of what happened, like Sonita had hit her third deadlift at 260 to give her a 708 kilo total. Brittany, I think she had in like something crazy like 276 kilos for her last deadlift, and then immediately she just dropped it to 267.5 to give her 2 kilos above Sonita. So it's like she it's so like back and forth. Like it's like, do you want to put on exactly what you need to beat her, or like take the quote unquote chance, even though she probably would have had it, of loading the extra 1 kilo for the extra money. So it's kind of like back and forth. But yeah, it was, and we have to talk about Sonita's squat. Like, oh my God, I honestly had no doubt that she would be able to bring that from training to the platform, but just to have it actually be done on the biggest stage in powerlifting is just like crazy. Crazy. Like 300.5 kilos. Like, what are we talking about? Like, she added like 15 kilos to her squat since Malta. It's just like crazy. Like, Ish, do you have any thoughts about it?
Yeah, seeing that in person was like ridiculous. I would say, obviously, in my opinion, that was basically the best squat from the female session. Leo is a close second, but just sheer amount of weight when you see a super heavyweight do squat at 300, it's mind-boggling. Nothing comes close to seeing a super heavyweight just squat houses, basically. And I'd like to give myself some credit in this battle where I said I did think that Brittany would be able to deadlift the world record. Now she didn't, but I think we can all agree that if she went at 1 kilo, she could have done it. I know she might be turning into the deadlift specialist of this class if she actually tries to send it. So I don't think we've ever seen her close to a true top end on her deadlift.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. Like I would say it's the same thing as like coming into Worlds. I wouldn't say she's becoming the deadlift specialist, but all around, she's just a phenomenal lifter. Like her bench is closing in on the world record bench. Her squat would be at the world record squat, like literally as of 2 days ago. Like she's just all around. Like she has no weaknesses. Like she gets better. She gets better on every lift. She doesn't have like her depth is undeniable. Her deadlift is very solid. Like there isn't really like big lockout issues or grip issues. Her bench doesn't have bench depth issue. Like she just is a really strong lifter who also just like lifts in like just a fully clean manner. Like I mean, not to try to like make examples, but it's just kind of like Keiko, where it's just like at this point, like you just expect her to execute. Like, is it possible there's somebody stronger than her? At some point, there will be. Like in general, nobody's the strongest forever. But like, if you have to ask for one lifter on the female side who's just gonna execute and hit the numbers, like right now, it would have to be her. She just does not miss lifts, and like she doesn't really get red lights. Like she just lifts the standard and it's just clean. And it also there always looks like there's a little bit more, which is just crazy. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely like I think that was a phenomenal battle. We got to see like the world record total by Brittany, and we got to see like probably the craziest squat of all time, definitely on the female side from Sonita, and then I think this is just will continue to be something to look at going forward. And I think we were all right. We all mentioned it. I mean, I did think Sonita had a shot of breaking the deadlift world record, but we all did mention that like her deadlift is probably going to be getting a little bit more difficult. Like she's definitely put on a significant amount of weight, and like lockouts and her quads, just all that stuff is just going to make it look a little bit harder. So she'll have to like it'll have to be undeniable, right? That's how it works at the highest level, and it's going to be more difficult for it to be undeniable. So I'd say we all mentioned it, whether or not we picked this specific number or not. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think it might be that she like gained weight, because she was about the same at like Malta. She was around like 123. This meet she was around like 126. So like yeah, it's like a bit of weight, but it's not like a ton. I honestly think it's just like her squat has gone up so much that the deadlift is just getting like somewhat more difficult. But even so, like she didn't do like bad on the deadlift. Like she still was able to deadlift 260 kilos, which is what she did at Worlds. Um but I mean, I think she's done like something crazy like 270 in the gym. Like maybe that was in prep for Malta. So I guess it'll just be about like bringing that back up now that your squat is to like an out of this world lift. And like that's what I wanted to say too. Like it's crazy that Brittany was able to execute and beat Sonita, even though Sonita had that insane squat and was squatting like 15 kilos more than her, which is just crazy.
Yeah, that's sure. I would say the next like storyline battle that happened here was another good one was in the 57s. So it's crazy now. We're at back to back years. Like Jod Jacob, like obviously we've spoken about Alexa. I mean, about Agata doing like the craziness at 69, like another junior who's like 21 years old and just like destroying everyone in the sport. But like we got to mention Jod. Like she's like broke into the scene a couple of years ago and like has just been in battle after battle after battle with like some of the greatest lifters, and she doesn't disappoint. Again, she comes back from a close battle at Worlds against her opponent, and again, she puts up what I would say is an upset in terms of I think the majority of people. I mean, SBD put out like a post with like what percentages each weight class had, and I don't remember the numbers, but I'm pretty sure like it was heavily leaning towards Natalie winning this class.
Yeah, I think it
So
was like 67-ish% for Natalie, and then like 32-ish for Jod, something like that.
oh, that's actually closer than like I was expecting based off like I guess it's just obviously I have a little bit of a bias. I see a little bit more from the U.S. side
Hmm.
versus the French side, but yeah. So like that weight class like that obviously was also pretty phenomenal. I mean squats went exactly like how I would expect it. Like uh,
Yeah.
Natalie took 286 and a half, took the world record on the third, and then Jod came back and retook it, which is and then bench also pretty much went expected. Like I was like I had Natalie at 112 and a half and Jod at 102 and a half, and they each like bench 2.5 less. But like they were in the exact position coming to deadlifts that I expected. And then Jod just did what she has been doing lately and just like hit her deadlifts, hit a big deadlift to A, break the deadlift world record, and B, like take the win in this class and also just move up in the actual overall rankings. So yeah, what were your thoughts on just this class in general?
Yeah, I'd say, as you said earlier, it was definitely, well, not a massive upset, but more of a mini upset win. And because I think we all had Natalie finishing in front of Judd. And I did think Natalie would have had a bit more in her deadlift, but she didn't. And Judd, yeah, that deadlift that she just did was definitely easier than what she did last year to win. But it's interesting because Sheffield is becoming somewhat of her redemption ground. She's lost that Worlds twice now. And she's come back to beat her, the person that beat her at Worlds. So be interested to see who wins in the next time they battle
Yeah,
out.
I mean, it's such a like just a fun storyline because it is like USA versus France, which is like the two arguably like best teams on the women's side, and they just have this like fun rivalry, and we get to see it again, which is so cool. But yeah, the squats were just insane. Like I was so happy for Jod that she was able to get that. Especially after chasing it for so long. Like I think Bobby Butters had held that record for I don't know how many years, but it was a while. And then Jod was able to get that. And then bench was pretty like standard, like Mike said. And deadlifts, I mean, Natalie, like obviously she had the strength for that last deadlift for 230 kilos. Like it was just 1 kilo under what the world record was. But then like I think it was just grip, like she just dropped it. And then Jad was able to pull it off and it didn't even look that hard, like in terms of what we're used to seeing Jad doing, like having that super grindy deadlift off the floor. Like it didn't look that hard. It would have been fun to see like if Natalie had got her third deadlift, and I think Jad would have had to pull like 239 kilos or something crazy. So that would have been super fun. But yeah, I mean, Jad came up on top, and I think she even if like this competition was based on good lift points, she would have been like third. So, and I think she's still a junior too. Is that right? So, yeah,
Yeah,
she
Yeah,
she did
she's
phenomenal.
definitely, yeah.
yeah, no, I definitely agree. I mean, that was going to be a fun weight class to watch, and obviously in part of the competition. And I personally had Natalie winning that just because I thought her top end was higher, which it still might be. Like she jumped 10 kilos on
Mhm.
that deadlift. Like if she hits that that puts her like a decent amount ahead. Where I don't know that Jod even like makes the jump for to try to win versus like taking the deadlift record, because I mean it would have had to been a much bigger jump. But yeah, it was great to see the rematch from Worlds, and we're probably going to get to see them go head to head again at Worlds. So that'll be fun. See if Jod can actually like pull off like the win when it's the actual direct head to head battle. But I mean they're pushing it. Like they both I believe broke, yeah, they both broke the world record. Um and that world record is going to be one of the hard, like it's becoming one of the higher standard ones. Like it's gonna be hard to really push that much more. Like this is a very high world record. It was 484 a year and a half ago, and now it's what is it, 519.
519.5.
Yeah, so we'll see how, I mean, listen, the sport is growing and we'll see how much more it can get pushed. So I would say those were like the main like battles, right? Like the battles were like, we had obviously the crazy battle in the 69s, we had the 84 pluses, and we had the 57s. So we're just gonna run through like the placings just for in general all the women, and then we'll just anything else we specifically want to discuss. So obviously, so Agata won with her insane performance. And then second and third were Leah and Corolla in a crazy head-to-head that came down to Leah jumping 2.5 to I'm not even sure how that would have worked because they were tied. Why was it that that Leah had to like jump to win? Was it because Corolla hit it first, or what was it?
That's what I was wondering too. I honestly thought about DMing Pete about it because yeah, you're right. They were tied on total, and
And Leah's lighter, so
yeah, she had the lighter body weight. So I guess it does operate on the fact that world records are like, it's kind of like when we saw like Agatha versus Jess in like 2022. Like Agatha held the world record because she had hit it first. So I guess,
right.
well, I guess in that case, then Leah would
Yeah,
have
I would
hit it
use the
first.
example I would use is Daniela Amanda. When Amanda beat
Yeah.
Daniela at World, Amanda had the. I mean, when Amanda beat Daniela, Daniela had the world record because she hit it first. But the thing is, here neither of them. It wasn't the world record. Meaning Agatha already had the world record, so I'm not sure why.
Right. That's interesting, actually.
I don't know how it works because in general, right? Obviously, if it was a normal competition, when you're tied, the first tiebreaker goes to body weight. And obviously, we know Leah was lighter, but obviously here the tiebreaker wasn't based off body weight. So I'm not sure. Maybe we'll find this out later. But okay, so
Yeah,
then
and also the thing is like Leah was the one who actually hit the total first because then Corolla came and tried to up it on her third deadlift.
no.
Oh wait, no, Corolla would have hit it
Corolla
first.
hit it first.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
So that's the only thing I could guess, but I'm not sure. Okay,
Yeah.
so then coming in fourth was Evie with a phenomenal performance. Then 5 and 6 were Brittany and Tonita, Carlina 7th, Jod 8th, Natalie 9th, Tiffany 10th, Amanda 11th, Noemi 12th. So do you have any of these performances you want to speak about, or anything, any individual lifts, anything that you want to discuss from the woman that we haven't discussed yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think we gotta talk about Evie because she did absolutely insane. Like a 481 kilo total at 52 kilos is just like crazy. And yeah, it's like a lot of people somewhat expected this because her training was going super well. But it's just crazy that she was able to win last year's Sheffield and then come in this year and place like just off the podium. It's just like it was great. And she hit the deadlift world record. She took that from what's the lifter's name? I think it's Farhana. Yeah, she was able to take her world record and it didn't look that hard. Like it looked like she could have done a couple kilos more. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Evie is going to stay 52s or go back up to the 57s. I don't know if she's like discussed it. I know she has said like she wants to go back up eventually because she is very lean at 52, but I don't know. It's just very interesting because I think if she were to stay, she would again be the heavy favorite going into Worlds to win a second world title.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, for sure. Like this is something that obviously has to get discussed, right? Like destroyed the world record, had a phenomenal performance. Like literally, actually, she hit like right around what I had. Like she squatted 2.5 less than I thought, benched the exact same, and deadlifted half a kilo less. Like literally had the numbers. I thought I just had her in second because I wasn't expecting Leah or Corolla to perform as well as they did. So she had a phenomenal meet. Like really couldn't have expected any more. Like she did what she could do, and she again destroyed a world record that she destroyed previously. And I mean, at this point, like she is the 52. Like she's the 50. This is becoming one of the weight classes, one of the few at this point, because most of them are super competitive. This is one of the few that right now does not look competitive going forward. But yeah, she had a phenomenal performance. Took the deadlift world record, so she walked away with one world record and a fourth place finish. Yeah, Ish, you have anything you want to add?
I think another thing I wanted to add as well, I think overall in like the women's classes now, I wouldn't say there's like a weak world record total anymore. So going into this, I would have said still the 52 and the 69 kg weight class since had the weakest totals. But after what we saw in Sheffield, I wouldn't say the 52s is weak anymore because, as you said, was it a few years ago, world record total in 57 was 480 something, and now 52s have reached that. And also
Right.
the 69 world record total, I think just last year, no, just over a year ago, when Carlina hit that as a 76. I think
Right.
that was seen as like a massive deal. Now 1.5 years later, I said this that's the sorry, what's the weight class? 69 kg world record total now. Like that world record total literally went from the easiest to like the hardest thing to break now. Like I would imagine no one would want to compete in the 69s next year in Sheffield because of how high it is now.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting close to the point where, like, forever, I think it's been pretty much agreed upon that the hardest weight class total was the 84s. But it's at this point, like, there are a lot of them that are just coming very close to that now. The one difference is that in the 84s, there just isn't like a second person. So it's like it's a one person with that crazy total. Like, still to the date, there's only two 84s who have ever totaled 600 kilos, right? 69 now is 600. Amanda and Danielle are the only 84s to ever even hit that number, which is just crazy. So yeah, I mean it's kind of nuts. But basically, yeah, there aren't really any more weak world record totals, but even so, we just see everything getting pushed. Like we're gonna get to this later when we discuss the men, but I mean the world record was broken in I believe 11 of these 12 women broke the world record.
Mm-hmm.
So the world records are high, but I guess it's just people are getting better and like I don't expect. No, I don't expect. I'm gonna say straight up, there's not gonna be somebody who breaks the world record by 9.3% next year. But like we're probably get somebody. I don't know who it's gonna be. I don't know which weight class, but somebody's gonna break it by 5%, which is gonna be very hard to do. Well, actually, I'll tell you, the winner of Sheffield next year is gonna be whichever one of Kroller or Leo wins the 63s. But
Yeah, I guess.
unless Natalie actually does drop to 52, like Steve said,
Oh
she
God.
theoretically could do.
Oh,
But either way, we're not gonna get into next year's predictions yet. But the point is that like these women are leveling up and they're just like like they're hitting these crazy numbers and they just are continuing to build on it, which is just nuts.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
yeah,
I
so
like completely agree. Like it'll be interesting to see, like we won't get too much into it, but it'll just be interesting to see next year if we see like this many women break the world record, or if it'll kind of be like the men's side where not that many, the men's side this year, not that many break the world record, but it'll just be the few who do will be like straight at the top, even if it's not by a crazy percentage, like 5%, 9%, like kind of what we saw this year.
right. I mean, not to get too much into next year, but I think next year we're gonna see it's gonna look very different on the men's side.
Yeah,
yeah, I definitely
I
agree.
agree. I agree.
Next year, the men's side, it's not like we're gonna be seeing somebody win with like a 1% break over the world record.
I
Mm-hmm.
think it was less than 1% this year actually.
Yeah, next year's gonna be different. But okay, fine. So before we wrap up the women, so I would just say like, so we already mentioned most of the weight classes. I'll just some of the people we haven't mentioned, that obviously still had phenomenal performances. So Amanda Lawrence, she broke her own squat world record again and pushed her own crazy high total world record again. She's obviously at like the or has been at the biggest disadvantage here because her world record total has been so high like for so long.
Mm-hmm.
But she continuously can still break it even by a little bit and break the individual lifts. She's just fun to watch, and hopefully we'll at some point get another person in her weight class that can at least make it competitive. Also, we have Carlina, who broke the 76s by, 10.5 kilos. 610.5 is phenomenal performance. She squatted over 500 pounds at 76, which is amazing. And it's crazy to think that a weight class below we're almost at 500 also now, but
Yeah,
it's still,
I thought about that too. It's still
yeah,
crazy,
phenomenal
crazy.
squat. Yeah. So, and then of course we already talked a little bit about Tiffany taking the squat and bench and total world record, and then Noemi is the only other lifter we haven't really mentioned yet. She kind of fell where we thought she was. Like, she's a very strong lifter, multiple time world champion, and her squat was around where we thought, like a bit below world record, like whatever. Nothing looked crazy. Her bench is just, the problem is, like, at the point now where for you to be the best, you can't have a weak lift.
Mm-hmm.
Like, end of story. Like,
Yeah.
there's no more. You can't win by being a specialist. So for her to come back to being like really in the running to win that weight class, her bench is going to have to make some improvements. Like, 85 kilos is not bad, but like it's not going to cut it when there's people benching 20 kilos more. And then deadlift, she attempted 205, missed, hit 197.5, which still a very, very strong deadlift. Like, that was around the world record a year ago. Yeah, she'll come back. I think she's always in the running for both the squat and deadlift world record. Neither of them are like much out of reach. Deadlift is moving a little bit far away, but squat, like, a good prep, and I think she'll be back in range for both of those. Anything to add?
I guess for Noemi, it's just like it's crazy that she totaled 447.5 and she placed last. And it's like just a few years ago, this would have been like, this is an insane total for 52s. Like, I believe she had won worlds with something around like 438, and that was the world record. But then Evie just comes in and like smashes the record, like 30 kilos above, or 30 plus kilos above what Noemi did, which is just like insane. And it's not saying that Noemi's a bad lifter, because she currently is like number 252, but it's just that Evie has just like leveled up the class, or at least leveled up the world record.
Yeah.
I guess before we move on to the men's, do we want to have the conversation if Agata is the new GOAT of female powerlifting?
Yeah, sure. No.
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 Yeah.
No.
I've been on a soapbox saying this for the last mostly year, like
Mm-hmm.
since this event last year, which is that, like, people have to be able to realize there's a difference between greatest performance and greatest lifter. Now, even within greatest performance, I wouldn't just say that the biggest total or the biggest dots is the greatest performance, because I think part of it is, like, we're in a sport, and if you look at any other sport, I would look at some of the ones that, like, the ones I follow the most, some of the American ones. When we compare people from now versus different eras, you have to be able to compare a lifter to the lifters in their era, right? I think most people are in pretty much agreement that in basically any sport, you take the best player from 40 years ago, the most of them would not be a professional nowadays. They would not be competitive, right? Like, in every sport, people level up, right? The talent is much higher. The training is much better. The knowledge is much better. The focus is much higher. People start specializing from a much younger age. So obviously it's not as extreme in powerlifting, right? Like, raw powerlifting's only been around for like 13, 14 years. But even within that, we have eras, and, like, yeah, um, whenever somebody breaks a world record, that is the heaviest total. But, like, you still have to compare, right? Like, if there are records, very few, but like records that stand for 5+ years, like, that's basically unheard of at this point, like, especially on the women's side. There's literally none. But like, when somebody holds a world record, let's say for like 7 years, and then somebody comes and breaks it by a kilo, yeah, they have a higher total, like it's the highest total. But even that, I wouldn't even consider the best performance, right? Somebody did it when people were 50 kilos away. Now, like, it levels up, like, so I think that's one thing just to look at, and then just the more important thing is, like, greatest performance versus greatest lifter. She put up the greatest performance, in my opinion, of all time, and she's starting to build a resume that will put her, that if she continues, we'll have her on the list of people for the greatest of all time, right? Obviously, she already has a World Games win equipped. She has a Sheffield win. She's hoping to potentially compete in the World Games raw and equipped this coming one. Like, I mean, if she does that would be pretty impressive to within a year span, like win Sheffield and then win raw and equipped World Games. But even that, like, there's still like there are people with 10 World Championships. Like I don't know, it's not a one for one. Not everything's equal, but like you still have to have a career. You have to have like a resume, and like having the stuff that are like the pinnacles. A few of those are very important to rounding out your resume, but it also has to come along with having a career of accomplishments.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Like, we kind of saw some debate about that on Instagram. Like, I agree with you. I don't think she's the GOAT yet, but she has the potential to be. Like, it's just hard because you can't personally, like, I would not consider someone the GOAT who hasn't won a world championships on the raw side. But I think this is up there in terms of performance with like Austin Perkins, Agatha, Rondell, um, who
This is
else? Oh yeah, Jesus, definitely. Like I would say this is, I think on the female side, this is definitely the greatest performance. There would be some debate with like in terms of Jesus last year, in terms of Austin Perkins, all those people. I think it's the greatest on the women's side because she went 9 for 9, because she broke the world record by 51 kilos, which is crazy, even though it was a relatively low world record. And also just the fact that she like proved the doubters wrong and she went out there and executed, and it was on the biggest stage in powerlifting. So hats off to her.
I think I want to
Yeah.
add two more points to that performance as well. It's not like she beat nobody. She literally beat Leah and Corolla, who are seen as like the best
Mm-hmm.
63s and 69s of all time before this meet. And also, she's still a junior. She's a junior
Yeah.
next year as well. Like,
Right.
as a junior, she put on the greatest female performance of all time. Like, it's crazy what she can do in the future, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it is crazy. Like just in general, like the trajectory the sport is going, where we're seeing like juniors being the best lifter, like putting up the best performances of all time. Like it is pretty crazy. And I mean, the sport's only growing. Like all these lifters we're talking about now, any single lifter who had the privilege to compete at Sheffield is one of the greatest lifters in this era. Just practically, right? You don't get there because you win some random like drawing. You get there through either winning worlds or like some secondary measure that still has you being an insanely good lifter. So we're talking about some of the best right now in this era, and some of the people are some of the best of all time. So I mean, whatever, we'll see the future. But I think the GOAT debate is a totally different debate. Fine. So yeah, so basically to wrap up, on the women's side, we saw like insane performances, like potentially the greatest performance of all time. Some of the other great performances, the biggest total of all time on the IPF side from a female in Brittany. Just tons of world records being broken, and yeah, and also just I think we'll take some credit. Like we did pretty good on our predictions. I would say better than probably most of the other people who put predictions out there. So whatever, that is what it is. Yeah. Now we are going to move on to the men's side.